there! We are on episode 14 of Pixel Heart Duo, this wonderful
We
podcast.
we got past the unlucky number, and we lived to tell about it.
We got past the unlucky number, yes. And we are both alive, even if just barely. But, yeah.
By our itty bitty cuticles.
Itty bitty cuticles. I guess mine aren't that big. I got nice sized cuticles, not too big. But, yeah, so just a quick hit before we jump into this week's episode. Last week we were talking about games that might be on your Steam wish list because of the spring sale coming up. Well, as of this week, we are in the Steam spring sale. So scrub those wish lists, check your email. There might be some titles that you forgot you added to your wish list that you're like, oh man, I need to check out. It's on sale now. Maybe there are some that we covered last week that you put on your wish list. Check to see if they're on sale this week. But yeah.
And don't forget to check your debit card balance before you start cha-ching.
Yeah. That was an issue for me. A couple of these sales, I gotta say. But yeah, so we're gonna start a new series of podcasts, and it's we're not quite sure exactly how many episodes we're gonna do, but you know, we are a real life couple. You know, we've kind of alluded to we're going to get married here later this year. We're going to be blending our families, but for right now, we're single parents. And I know some of you out there are also single parents, or you have fur babies, or you have a really time-intensive job, or you volunteer at a food bank, or your schedule is really pressed for time. So we figured we would start a series on games that you don't necessarily need to devote a lot of time to complete, or games that you can just kind of take long breaks in between. You don't need to get super invested in. And so this first series episode is going to be games that can be completed in less than 5 hours. And these are games that are complete stories. You can start to finish them in 5 hours or less. And really excited to talk about some of these titles. A
couple of them aren't super fast paced. So,
yeah.
One of the things that's difficult in this day is that a lot of games are unpausable. And these games, they're kind of slower paced. So when Little Miss Something comes down the stairs and says, "Daddy, I'm thirsty," you can go get her a drink real quick, and it's fine. It's not going to ruin anything. And you're not going to have anybody flaming you on the other side of the screen going, WTF, mate,
I can't drink this. It has amoebas in it. I don't like M. Night Shyamalan movies, but you said that, and it popped in my head. Yeah, so yeah, we're gonna cover some titles. I'll cover a few. She'll cover a few, and we'll get right into this. But this first title we're gonna cover is A Short Hike. You can play it on PC, Switch, PS4, and Xbox One. The game is a couple years old. I like the fact that you can play it on Switch, so you can take it anywhere. It is an open-world exploration game in which the player is tasked with reaching the summit of a mountain to get cell phone reception. Really groundbreaking, I know. The player has the ability to jog, climb, swim, and glide through an open-world park while controlling Claire, a dark blue anthropomorphic bird. To reach the peak, the player must find or purchase golden feathers that increase stamina, afford extra jumps, and the ability to climb rock faces. Although, to a sign on Hawk Peak Trail, the peak can be reached with as few as 7 golden feathers. Once the player reaches the peak, thus completing the main story, they are free to explore the park and complete side activities as they please. A Short Hike received generally favorable reviews according to Metacritic. The PC version got an 82, an 88 for the Switch version, and an 83 for the PS4 version. There wasn't enough aggregate data for an Xbox One score, but I would imagine it's probably fall in line with PS4 and PC 82, 83. Reviewers praised the peacefulness and replay value of the setting, as well as the open-ended gameplay, with several critics comparing the game's open world to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Now, anytime Breath of the Wild is brought up, my antenna go up because it's like, you know what? That was a game that won Game of the Year. Very few people can hate on it for any valid reason. I said very few. I didn't say none because there are some people out there with valid criticisms. But this was a game. It flew right past me. And approximate completion time is 1.5 hours for the main story. So that fits right in under 5 hours. And then you can continue playing it afterwards. So yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely it, while it's start to finish 1.5 hours, you're not done at 1.5 hours. Like you've won the game, you completed the game, kind of thing. But there is so much to explore and enjoy in the game, even beyond that. So, if you're enjoying the relaxing pace of it, um, you can enjoy more. It's great.
Yeah, and I mean it's one of those titles. Like I said, I it flew under the radar for me because I am very story driven, and I realized I'm playing the Yakuza series again, because I don't have a lot of experience with it, but there are like 56 of them. So I'm playing Yakuza 0, and it's like I'm probably a good 14 hours into the game, and I'm only on like chapter 6 or 7, and so it's like there have been times where I've gone several days in between playing, and when I come back, I'm like, what was I doing? Like, where was I supposed to go? Like, so a game like this is perfect. It takes an hour and a half, and like you can replay it, and there's more to it after you quote unquote beat it, too. So that's definitely a really cool feature to this title.
I mean, the story is not incredibly complicated. It's a bird trying to use a cell phone, which, I mean, that begs a lot of questions in and of itself, right? But I mean, we're gonna go with it. Um,
Yeah.
However, it's it looks like a lot of fun, where you're just kind of exploring and chilling, and with it being on Switch, you can take it with you, which I think this style of game is perfect for that kind of, if you've got a job that you're traveling a lot, but you're also making frequent stops, bring your Switch with you, hop on, play a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, and you covered a couple good segue pieces, and I'm going to cover one more title before we kick it over to you. When you talk about not a really like in-depth story, and it's portable and you can take it on the Switch with you. The next title has a little bit more of a story, and this is a title that when I was streaming back in 2015, 2016, I would stream 6 days a week. I was big in YouTube gaming when it blew up, before it cooled off, and now it's just nothing but like Southeast Asia people use it for like big gaming. But when I was streaming, a lot of my streamer buddies were playing this title. They went kind of nuts about it. It received a lot of publicity, and this title is Firewatch. It's playable on PC and Mac, PlayStation, Xbox, and also on Switch. So again, another title you can take with you. It was released in 2016. It is an adventure game played from a first-person view that takes place in the American state of Wyoming in 1989. The player takes on the role of Henry, a fire lookout who is assigned to his own tower in Shoshone National Forest. Through exploration of the surrounding area, Henry uncovers clues about mysterious occurrences in the vicinity that are related to the ransacking of his tower while he is out on a routine patrol and a shadowy figure that occasionally appears watching him from afar. Henry's only means of communication is a walkie-talkie connecting him to his supervisor, Delilah. The player may choose from a number of dialogue options to speak with her upon the discovery of new interactive objects or environments, or can refrain from communicating. The player's choices will influence the tone of Henry's relationship with Delilah, and as the story progresses, new areas will be opened up for the player, and certain events that are set at different times of the day will occur. Firewatch received generally favorable reviews according to Metacritic. The game sold more than 500,000 copies within a month of its release and over 1 million copies by the end of the first year. On August 17th,
Woo!
2020, it was announced that Campo Santo was partnering with production company Snoot Entertainment to adapt the game into a feature film. There has been no update since, but I would imagine it's a lot like many of these other game or comic adaptations. We should probably hear something soon. Approximate completion time 4 hours. Now, this is another game that I really, really, really want to play, but I just, quote, haven't had the time. If you look into it deeper, it's because I am an elitist prick when it comes to like needing to put 6,000 hours into a game. So Firewatch is one I'll probably have to pick up because it sounds like a lot of fun, and we live one state south of that, so it's kind of relevant to us, like where we live.
Well, and I find too that these style games are really good for people with game ADD. Um, you know, I am a lot like Frick, where if I start a game, I have to finish it. So right now I'm working through Ori and the Will of the Wisp, and I will probably not touch anything else on my own until I complete it. Um, and I am not awesome with that style of game, but I enjoy the pain, so I must be somewhat masochistic. However, I also have a lot of gaming friends that they're constantly bouncing. You know, one day it's this, and the next day it's that, and and sometimes it's like three different games in a day. And these style games are do actually lend quite well to that kind of style, um, and because they're short, they lend quite well to people that, like I said before, want that check in a box, like done, you know, want their certificate of completion, and they're quick dopamine hit, and then they're on their way. So these games, they serve a broader audience than I first thought.
They really do. And they fit in really nicely. Like, you're playing Ori, I'm playing Yakuza 0, but I'm also a big sports fan, and I'm an Arsenal supporter. They're in the Champions League, which is like the creme de la creme of soccer or football. Don't crucify me, I said both, depending on where you're listening from. Um, they made it through to the quarterfinals for the first time in many, many years. And so I was like, you know what? I have Football Manager 24 on my Xbox. Maybe I'll just dip my toe back in, see if I can start another career. Bring a club up from the depths, all the way up. I haven't touched Yakuza 0 in like a week, and every time I turn on my Xbox, it's to play Football Manager. So, like, I get caught in this, like, I need to play Yakuza, but I want to do this. Like, so these types of games where it takes 1 hour, 2 hours, 4 hours, like, I can take a break and play that game and not feel like I'm wasting time because I need to be playing this other game. So it fits really nicely in that little niche, and it's definitely refreshing to have a full game that you can play, in just a sit down one afternoon and experience the whole thing start to finish and just feel this sense of completion.
Absolutely. On to the next game. This game is available on PC and Mac only. It is called The Stanley Parable. Originally released in 2011 as a Half Life 2 mod and later released in 2013 as a standalone title, The Stanley Parable is a story based video game designed and written by developers Davey Wreden and William Pugh. The game carries themes such as choice in video games, the relationship between a game creator and player, and predestination slash fate. Those are some pretty deep topics there. In the game, the player guides a silent protagonist named Stanley, alongside narration by British actor Kevin Brighting. As the story progresses, this player is confronted with diverging pathways. The player may contradict the narrator's directions, which, if disobeyed, will then be incorporated into the story. So there you go for all you naughty kids that always like to pick the chaos uh, characters in D&D. Depending on the choices made, the player will encounter different endings before the game resets to the beginning. In the original 2011 mod, there were 6 different endings. Reading stated that it would take about an hour for the player to experience them all. The 2013 remake added more than 10 endings, altering some pre existing endings and their respective routes to trigger them, as well as several Easter eggs, which we all love to find, and other choice related aspects. The approximate completion time for the Stanley Parable is less than 3 hours. So, you know, that's a really long lunch break, which is awesome. I mean, I don't know. I don't recommend taking a 3 hour lunch break. Don't tell your employer that Fox told you to do that.
Counterpoint, I do, because lunch and nap is very important.
Bring back the nap. I think it's garbage that only, kindergarten through second grade get naps. Do they even get naps in second grade anymore?
They might, I don't know.
It's terrible. Adults need naps.
Yes. Well, and the Stanley Parable is great because it has that, there is over 10 endings. So like you could play it through multiple times, and it's got that dry British humor. Like the narrator just eggs you on, like, and is very snide. It's kind of like, if you think GLaDOS from Portal, only the narrator's not trying to kill you. So it's fun. It's a quirky little game. It is old, so you can get it on sale. It very well could be on sale right now. I haven't checked. I probably should. It's another one of those games that I thought I owned, but I might have just played it somewhere. Um, but yeah, it's a really fun game, and it doesn't take long to beat, and you can beat it many times and get different endings.
Well, and this game kind of piqued my interest because of the fact that you can make different choices and that those choices are remembered throughout the game, and I always like those aspects of it because it kind of throws me back to the choose your own adventure books, back from like grade school, middle school. I don't know, are those still a thing? I feel like they are. Maybe.
Yeah, I think one of my daughters has brought up that she likes them.
So, I always liked that. And then I was always that person that would read the skip ahead to the end. And if I didn't like the end, I'd like go back to where the key decision was that put me on that bad path and choose a different one. So the number of times I had to do that probably speaks to how what being a poor decision maker. But anyway, I challenge accepted. I can turn this less than 3 hour game into 10.
Yes, and just to update, it currently is on sale 50% off. So there you go.
All right. Well, save you some money as well as some time. So there you go. And our last title, I believe we've talked about a little bit here and there in previous episodes, but this time it gets its own spotlight. It is What Remains of Edith Finch. What Remains of Edith Finch is a narrative focused adventure game. As Edith, the player explores the Finch house and surrounding weirdness or wilderness, either or, through a semi-linear series of rooms, footpaths, crawl spaces, and secret passages. Edith's narration guides the player, providing commentary on her own thoughts, experiences, and relations to each character, and therefore provides exposition and nuance relating to many of the semi-self-contained sequences in the game. Various narrative related objects include books, clutter, and decorations provide Edith this opportunity, which is framed as the vocalization of Edith's own writing in her journal, revealed chronologically as she makes her way through the house, throughout which the player encounters the former bedrooms of deceased family members, which have been memorialized and preserved since the time of the respective individual's death. What Remains of Edith Finch received near universal acclaim across all platforms upon which it was released: PlayStation 4, Windows, Xbox One, and Nintendo Switch. Approximate completion time is about 2.5 hours, 2.5 hours, and it's currently 75% off on Steam. There is a caveat on this for those sensitive to the topics. There may be some emotionally triggering content, so please proceed with caution if you find yourself in that category. Um, but it's a fantastic title that delves into some, for such a short game, delves into some pretty deep topics, and I like the the unblocking of things as she's interacting with these deceased relatives. The Finch family is a family that's been cursed, so to speak, and they all seem to meet untimely deaths, not due to any kind of, medical history or anything like that. So, um, you know, deals with some mental health issues. Again, if you're sensitive to that kind of stuff, you know it going into it. But it really, truly is a thought provoking game in such a short amount of time. So, highly, highly two thumbs up, enthusiastically recommend it.
Yeah, and I mean it's something I would recommend getting. It's like I said, 75% off Steam sale. In fact, all four of these titles are currently in the Steam sale at 40 to 75% off. So, I would
Woohoo!
I would say this is the best time to get them. I don't know if you're gonna get it any more than 75% off, but and it's an older title, but it's kind of a slow progression. It's nothing like jump scary. It's nothing that's gonna like trigger like your panic or anything, but it does have heavy topics, and it's one of those games where you think about it for a while afterwards. Long, I mean, you get 2.5 hours of gameplay approximately to finish it, but you probably have a couple weeks where you go back and you're like, man, like you think about it, and it stays with you. So yeah, it's definitely one I would also check out. So 4 thumbs between the two of us. Check
It
it out.
stays with you in a good way, not in a bad way, like Abuela's bad tamales. Like
Hmm.
that, you don't want that kind of staying with you. It stays with you in a good way.
Yeah.
It makes you think.
I don't have an abuela, but I do have tamales. So
I love tamales, by the way. I don't even know why I said tamales. I probably could have picked a different one. Chimichanga. I mean, that sounds like something more likely to be bad than
why
tamales.
why are you focused on Mexican food?
Because I want Mexican food for dinner, apparently. So everybody knows that's what I'm getting tonight: enchiladas wrapped in corn flour tortillas, because I'm gluten free. Anyway, so there's fun facts for you.
I am doing Asian food because I have the house all to myself. So I am gonna make an Asian feast.
Ooh, all by yourself.
All by myself.
That's it. And then you have to have a fancy dessert because you won't have eyeballs staring at over your shoulder going, "Can I have a bite? Can I have a bite? Can I have
I
a
got
bite?"
I got a pint of Ben and Jerry's.
Although, your dog Estes does count as probing eyeballs. I see what you're eating, Dad.
Yeah.
So the next few games, they are not pausable, as we talked about earlier, but they are short in that they are matches. Some of them being MOBAs, and some of them being battle royales. Um, they tend to have about anywhere from 15 to 45 minutes long. So, you find yourself on a quick lunch break and you want to hop in a match, you should be able to complete it before your boss is in your doorway TikToking you. Um, and these are actually all games that we play, so that makes it even better. First one is the League of Legends. However, I will specify ARAM, all random, all mid. It's a good time. It's fast paced. It's not the same game because every time you play, you're getting assigned a different champion with different abilities and that kind of thing. The first, I don't know, 1,000 times you play, you're gonna suck. Or you could be like me and still suck after about 12 years of playing it, but I have a good time. um, the the Summoner's Rift is a lot of fun, but it is a much longer commitment. You're looking more like 45 minutes to an hour, perhaps. Some of the longer games, yeah. So ARAM, all random, all mid, of the League of Legends. That would be a first pick for if you've just got a few minutes that you want to hop in a game. Like I said, it's about 15 to 20 minutes long each match. They can run 30 minutes. And if you're planning on 20 minutes and it runs 30, you got to stick it through. Otherwise, you're leaving your 4 teammates high and dry. So you don't want to be that gamer. But yes, these are games that are either where you aren't going to get interrupted or after the children are in bed because they are not pausable.
Yep. Sticking with Riot, Valorant's another one. People who like FPSs, first-person shooters, are into like the quicker matches, into like the CS:GO style matches. But because it is Riot, every character is different. Every character has different abilities. Matches can run anywhere between 30 and 40 minutes. It's a game that I really was into when it first came out, and then I just didn't have anybody to play with, so I didn't play. But maybe we'll get back into it. I know you've got a couple kids that play Valorant, so maybe we'll rope them into carrying us in competitive or something. I don't know.
I do indeed. My favorite character is Lifeline with the little pom poms. All right, no, Lifeline isn't Valorant, is it? No, Lifeline is in the very next game that we were going to talk about, which is Apex Legends.
Yes,
Also,
saved it into a segue.
another battle royale style game, where you're playing against other teams and you're coming together in an increasingly shrinking circumference. And where at the start of the game you're going in different directions and whatever, but there's a perimeter that keeps closing in on you and forces you closer and closer into combat. So all you little moles out there that try to win the game by like hiding somewhere like a cheese ball, you eventually get popped. So, but yes, the Lifeline with the little pom poms, and she's a support character because I am an eternal support slash healer. This game I am digging quite a bit.
Yes. Are you guys picking up why we're together? I love her very much, but it's really because I have a pocket healer in any game I play.
Fast queue lines.
Yep.
It's always important.
And Apex is fun because people who want to get into battle royales, but they don't want to play Warzone, they don't want to play Fortnite because Fortnite's fun, but it's also like it's tough with some of their crossovers and their promotions. I enjoy playing it with my kids, but Apex Legends, it's a little bit more serious, but it's also not like crazy serious. It does have a competitive scene, but you can be bad at it and still have a lot of fun.
Well, and those 3 games are all PC games, so there's that. You're not going to be taking them with you or anything like that, or playing on your Xbox or PlayStation. But this next game, why? We're just like, these segues are amazing today. They're like butter. Um, this next game you can take with you wherever you go, and even though it's kind of outside of our little niche, It is something that you can play together, and it is something that you can play in a short amount of time, and that would be Pokemon Go. Um, Available on any mobile device. And yeah, you get to run around and play and catch all of the Pokemons. You get to be, the very best.
Like no one ever
But
was.
I was waiting for you to pick that one up. Or, I mean, then there's, people like me that I like to go to my local mall and knock out all of the 12-year-olds that are in the gyms at the mall and, sit quietly while I figure out what kid it was that I knocked out and watch them cry and laugh.
Yeah, there you go. But as a note for those of you who are kind of sad, Apex Legends you can play it on Switch, on PlayStation, and on Xbox. It has cross server functionality, but a lot of people do play it on PC just because mouse and keyboard is superior to controller. So
Oh,
there
I
you go.
lied to you all, didn't I? I've only ever played it on PC.
Yeah, you can.
See,
Well,
there we go.
you were always the PC master race, and then here we are playing It Takes Two, and you're like, I can't get it. It's like because I was born with a controller in my hand. PC
Nothing
master race.
exists outside of the PC.
Except Pokemon Go, because we got to catch them all. But
There's legendaries and all kinds of fun stuff, and Chinese and always like special events going on and stuff like that. And it gets you out walking with your loved one. How about that? You can combine physical moving with video gaming, and that is a win in both of our books.
yeah, yeah, a lot of fun. But before we get into our topic for tonight, we're talking about great stories. We're talking about all media, multimedia, and all that. For those of you who have not seen it, there is a Fallout series coming to Prime Video. It's coming April 11th. I know some people have been following along, but the trailer is up on YouTube right now. It looks really good. Um, some of the comments are like, "Please don't suck, please don't suck, please don't suck." The power armor looks fantastic. Talk about like a good story in video games. So we're gonna get that on Prime Video. I really hope it doesn't suck. I hope it doesn't look great and then really just kind of bomb like Halo did, where it just goes off the rails and Master Chief takes his helmet off in the first episode and it's like, "My name is John," and you're like, "Shut the hell up. Like, what are you doing to my poor series?" So Fallout coming to Prime Video April 11th. All episodes will be available immediately. If you're curious, hop on the Tube of Views and watch the trailer. It looks pretty doggone good.
Hopefully, it goes off of one of the ones not Fallout 76.
I think they said it Todd Howard came out and said that nothing in the series is going to like interrupt Fallout, the next Fallout when it comes out, but it takes place after Fallout 4 but before the next Fallout, I think. So it's not doesn't deal with Fallout 76. I think they're just kind of like going to quietly pretend that is like a one-off. So
that game didn't exist because it was bad. Anyway.
Yeah. So yeah, I figured, we've talked previously in past episodes about long games that have really good stories. We're starting this new series about games that are shorter, games that, you can get full enjoyment out of it in just a short amount of time. So our topic tonight is what constitutes a good video game story. Is it character development, world building? Is it the narrative? So we're just going to kind of discuss that just because, can you have a good story in 1 hour? Do you need to devote 40 plus hours to having a good story? So I'll let you kind of take the lead on this, on what you think, and we'll just kind of discuss it for a little bit.
I think all of these titles that we covered tonight actually proves that you don't have to have, like, 40 to 60 to 100 hours of gameplay invested in order to, uncover an amazing story. If Edith Finch in particular, uh, you really feel like you know them by the end of it. Definitely character development is important, even with, for me, because I'm a nerd, even with, games like League of Legends, I used to sit and read through the lore of each of the characters um, that you can play, each of the champions you could play. And that would always like add another layer when I'm battling it out on Summoner's Rift, um, or Howling Abyss, because it's like, oh, that's Udyr, he's my mortal enemy. I have to make sure I kill him every time. um, so definitely character development for me. um, and world building and narrative. I don't think there's any hard and fast rule about any of that, though, because like what we talked about with a short hike, not an in-depth story, but there's an experience that's more of the story than than the game story, if that makes sense. What do you think?
Yeah, well, and I think like a game like a short hike, you're not really playing for the story. It's just kind of like it gives you just enough breadcrumbs to get start to finish. Like, okay, this is why I'm playing the game. Luckily, it doesn't take too long. I think if you hit like hour 5 or 6, and you're playing as you're trying to find cell phone reception, people are going to be like, oh, really, I've been doing this for 5 hours. Like, come on. But there are definitely games out there where you don't need a story. But I think and then there are games out there where the developer gets really like cheeky, like Far Cry 5, where it's like a 40, 50 hour game, 20 to 40 hours, depending on how fast you go do it and how many side quests you do. Um, the game starts with you meeting the main bad guy, and he's like, oh, something has occurred. Just wait here for 15 minutes. I'll be right back. Well, naturally, the player, he's going to leave, and you're going to get up and explore. The sirens all go off, and, then the game starts, and, why couldn't you just listen, and now I have to kill you, blah, blah, blah. 20 to 40 hours later, the game is done. But if you rewind, and he said, just wait here, I'll be back in 15 minutes. If you actually sit there and just put your controller down and you wait 15 minutes, the guy walks back into the room, you have a nice discussion, he sends you on your way, the game is over. So, like, developers have this, like, they can do stuff like that too. So, like, you don't need a story to beat the game, but you need a story to actually play the game. So, I think, character development is good. I also think world building is important because a game like World of Warcraft is not going to be around for 20 years as of this November without it. The
Hoorah.
Warcraft, yeah, with the Warcraft universe
Oh, the Horde, by
is
the way.
is massive. I used to be a huge Horde player, as you can tell, those of you who have the VOD. I'm pointing at my thrall. Like, I was an orc shaman for years. Um, I love Thrall. I met Christy Golden at quite a few BlizzCons. Like, we're Facebook friends, not to name drop or anything, but like, I've read a bunch of StarCraft and Warcraft. Like, a lot of these video game series have a lot of backstory. Like, Halo is great because it's got fantastic multiplayer, but it has a fantastic story as well. Like, there's a reason why there have been multiple Halos because of the story. Like, you care about Master Chief and that character development, but then everything else around him matters too. Like,
Yeah.
so the narrative, like, yeah, you kind of want to know like why you're doing what you're doing in a game, why you're stopping some people, and there are some games out there where you can actually sympathize with the bad guys. Um, like, I can sympathize with the Alliance, so the Horde was not bad, but it just
Anduin is still a weenie, but okay.
yeah.
You know, but it does have to flow organically. Like it has to feel natural. I will say one game that did not do that well. One recent game that did not do that well. I am enjoying the gameplay for Prince of Persia. I do not like that you are constantly stopping and like it's like there's constant cutscenes. Now I'm hoping as I get further into the game, it's like chills out a little bit, because a lot of it towards the beginning is like front loading your abilities, right? Like oh, press Y to do this, whatever. Um, so I'm hoping but it's to me, it didn't keep my attention because the story kept, you kept having to talk to this person and having to talk to that person, and then there was a cutscene, and then you're constantly, and it just didn't feel very like once I got through past the initial ooh ah of it all, it didn't keep my attention simply because it just didn't feel natural. Um, some games do it better than others. That was just one title that popped in my head that I'm like,
Yeah, and that's a lot too, like how they introduce features and things. Like there's like the newest God of War, the two, even like Horizon Zero Dawn and Forbidden West, like as they introduce abilities, like it just feels very organic. You don't have to stop. Like I ran across the same thing with Prince of Persia. Granted, my video game ADHD kicked in because I just had like I want to play this game, I want to play that game. Like I had a hard time. I dropped it for the time being just because I don't have the time. Like I don't have the time to devote multiple hours every day into multiple games. But if it feels organic, like I will definitely echo what you said. Like it's gotta feel organic, and like the story is great, but the features are trash. Like it's gonna pull you out. You have to make sure the whole package
yeah,
is a good experience. Yeah, definitely. I can definitely agree with that. I will disagree that world building doesn't matter. I think it's really important because people have to care about the characters in the game, not just the main characters, but the supplemental characters. Because a lot of people, like cosplayers and like lore historians, they care about those supplemental players, and it's able to kind of build a bigger following and become a lot cooler because you care about those main characters. So
I do feel one game that I do feel did that very well. One recent game that did that very well would be Baldur's Gate 3. I feel like they've got a solid character development in that game. Although it ran a little thirsty for my taste because I'm not a 14-year-old boy. Um, they did a good job of
yeah,
developing that character in a way that felt like necessary, as opposed to just like gratuitous cutscenes that kind of just get more in the way of the gameplay than anything.
yeah, and I will say that they kind of struggled a little bit with world building. I know it's probably not a popular opinion, but you know, Baldur's Gate 3 is based off of the D&D universe. Like it plays
Mm.
similar to that. Dungeons and Dragons, you don't have good campaigns if you cannot effectively world build. Like you have to enjoy the environment around you. You have to get sucked in. And for me, Baldur's Gate, I cared about like finding the next character, getting equipment and learning the next spell. It felt like the first act and a half, like the world building for me was kind of lackluster. So that is an example of a game that like did really good character development. Um, but as far as like a video game story, like you're just trying to figure out why you have a parasite in your head. Like, you know, okay, um, you know,
Which kind of gives me the creepy crawlies. Like, ugh.
yeah. But we'd love to hear from you. Like, what do you think makes a video game story good? Give us some examples. Like, if there's a detail that we have overlooked, or if there's something else that we haven't really thought about, like what makes a good video game story. Like, give us some of your favorites. We'd love to hear from you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And if
Yeah.
you played Avatar, I want to know. Not the Mists of Pandora or whatever. I'm talking the Airbender one. I actually heard that that was like a phenomenal game. I don't know.
Really?
Yeah, it like popped up on my radar just within the last couple days. So if you've played Avatar, let me know.
Huh. I did not know about that. All right. Well, that about does it for this episode of Pixel Heart Duo. We are now 14 of them in the books, and like I said, this is the first episode of an undetermined length of series of these type of things. Um, if you've got questions, we do mailbags on occasion. We will, read your question. We'll discuss it on air. Tell your friends about us. We love listener input. We love hearing about, what you want to hear. We just love gaming in general, and we love doing it together. So that is kind of the core focus of this podcast. You can follow us weekly. We usually stream live Wednesday nights on Twitch. We also then release on our YouTube channel. Just look for Frickin' Fox. Or you can find us anywhere you listen to your podcasts. And I verified and double checked. We are on all of the audio platforms. We were missing a couple last week, so I went ahead and added us. So anywhere you anywhere you get your podcasts, your audio from, we are going to be on that. Just search for Pixel Heart Duo. Until next week, I am Frick.
And I am Fox.
And we will catch you guys then. Until next time, game on.
Peace.